Hey there, how are you? Dad Like Book, I'm back, and I'm not in my usual spot, as you can see. I'm down in southern Missouri on the border of Arkansas on a guy's trip, and decided it was a good location to film a video talking about Neuromancer again, because I read it for a second time. I just finished rereading it a couple days ago, and wow. As you probably saw from the title of the video and the thumbnail, this was a truly special reread. Probably the best reread I've ever done of any book. And granted, I haven't really reread all that many of the science fiction and fantasy books that I've been covering on the channel. But I think I said it when I initially published my video on this, that I think it could do with a reread for me to try to understand more of what was going on. First time I read this book, it wasn't confusing in the way that like it doesn't make sense. It was just written at a very high level with a lot of really vivid and deep prose that don't, Gibson does not hold your hand throughout this story. And I think that's why I enjoyed it the second time around so much, because like the vividness in which the prose are written and the world is built is in a way where you're in the world. You're not told about the world. He really shows and doesn't tell. I know that's a common saying in the writing world, but true. It's very true. One of the best books I've ever read that takes you on a journey in like on the character's level, if that makes sense. If you don't know much about this book, I'll just briefly cover kind of a synopsis, and then I'll kind of talk about some thoughts of what I had for my second time through this book. This is for the Neuromancer fans, the diehards. So if you've read this book, or if you haven't read this book, I would probably not watch the rest of this video, because I'm going to just cover random little things throughout it and just talk about my second experience. So we follow a man named Case. He's this young, digital cowboy, if you will, console cowboy, and he is working for an employer, and he kind of takes advantage of the employer, steals from them, and they inject him with these, they damage his spinal cord, and he's unable to jack into the matrix anymore. And a man approaches him through this other character that we meet named Molly, and wants him to do a job for him. They're going to break in and basically they're going to break into a really high-tech AI system and sort of steal what's in there. And the reason why that Case agrees to do this is not the money, but it's the fact that they will they'll inject him with something that'll heal him. But what he doesn't know is he gets healed, but it's actually, they put these toxins in him that are slowly deteriorating, so that if he doesn't complete the job, he'll be back to square one and unable to jack into the matrix. So they fix him in order to use him, but sort of blackmail him in that way. And that sets the stage for what eventually is this neon fever dream that is as much of a polar opposite as you can get from where I'm at right now on the side of a shore by the lake. This is dark and gritty and metallic and rainy and neon and funky and dangerous. It's so fast-paced. The pacing in this book is unreal. And as I said, like, for my second reread, the reason why it was so much better was I was familiar with the stakes, I was familiar with the world, and I was familiar with the characters. Much like watching a Christopher Nolan movie for a second time, you sort of, in a lot of ways, have to you're not able to keep up with the pace and the depth of what he shows you the first time you watch one of his movies. And I would compare Gibson's writing to that kind of high-octane, fast-paced stuff where it's just like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm trying to keep up. And the second time you're able to like sink your teeth in and sort of understand why Case has this self-destructive streak. I thought, spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the book, please don't go any further. I thought that the reason why I didn't really understand the reason why, what's his girlfriend's name at the beginning? Gosh dang. What is her name? I'm gonna forget it. Linda. Linda, why his connection with her is impactful is like she's kind of drug addicted as well as him, and they're just spiraling together. And you know, he almost has sympathy for her robbing him because she just wants a way home, and that's what Case wants. So like he's sort of foiled, like mirrored off of her in a way where we don't know that at the beginning, but she pops up throughout the story, used by Wintermute to like reflect Case back at himself. Her being in the arcade near I think in the beginning of the book, in the first few chapters, where she's staring down at the screen, and just like the way that those prose are written, knowing what Case will experience being lost in this digital world, great foreshadowing, great symbolism in that. I thought that was a beautiful way of doing it, because Linda does, you know, ultimately meet the fate that Case could have met. You know, that was kind of the danger. You know, I thought one character that I had a hard time with the first time was, gosh, now I'm gonna forget all the characters' names. I've been on this trip. I sat and read Lonesome Dove for about an hour before I came down here to film, and my buddies are up the hill at the house. So like, I should have given myself a little bit more time to refamiliarize myself with like names and stuff. But gosh, it's the guy. He's at the end. He's the one that betrays them. I'm not gonna be able to find it in time. Oh my gosh. This is embarrassing, guys, because I just read this book, like, I finished it a week ago, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna film a video there. It's, man, me and my friends have been talking about so many, like, names and movies and books and stuff lately that it's all clouded in my head. The character that betrays them is who I'm trying to talk about. The name will just appear to me in a minute. I'm almost positive. His sort of like reason for being on the expedition, a part of this team that's going to break in, I thought from the beginning, when I read it the first time, was very strange. I was like, this guy doesn't seem reliable at all. You know, they pick him up, and he's the one that can kind of like sort of make a hologram around people, you know, and then he has that sort of show that he does with where he really goes too far and like projects himself with an image of Molly doing things, and it's just kind of disturbing. He's disturbed from the beginning, and Armitage, who is a completely other character, you know, not actually Armitage, he just goes along with it, and he's just like, it's fine. I wondered did Wintermute plan that the entire time? He wanted to get somebody in that was unstable in order to, like, you know, break through 3Jane's defenses or something. Like, he was the one character the first time that I read through that I just didn't quite understand. I was like, why is anybody trusting this guy? And they really weren't. Like, Case was untrustworthy of him. Molly didn't like him. He was just kind of there. And I didn't really understand what purpose he served until the second time that I read it through. I do think that Wintermute had this sort of plan from the beginning. Obviously, it's shown because he uses Armitage. He has so many inner workings that happen, and he has this all planned out until he's got to depend sort of on human reaction, which is something AI can't do. And so, very clunky last few minutes of this video. I'm sorry. I didn't really explain that well, but the few things that I missed, the nuances in the story and the plot, and that led to an eventual payoff, I missed them in the first reading because I was so focused on trying to just understand what was happening, like the world and the stakes of why Case was, you know, why do I care about this character? Why do I want it? You know, the motivations of everybody. This time I could actually sit with the AI implications and things like that. And I know what's really interesting to me about this book right now is it's very timely. The themes are extremely, you know, relevant. I think that with all of the AI news that comes out freaking daily, that it's the awareness that Gibson had in 1984 to write about an AI like this. And I know other science fiction writers have done this in various ways, but just the awareness that they had for what we would, you know, how we would approach it in the future is extremely interesting to me. Because obviously we don't live quite in this world yet, but you can just see the writing on the wall in a lot of ways of just the dangers that it poses and things. And so I'm not trying to start a conversation on like the ethics and morality of AI, but I think Gibson does a really interesting job of posing those questions in this book and not really giving us concrete answers of like, this is the point of why I wrote this. It's a danger, it's a, you know, it's a cautionary tale against AI. I don't think he wrote it for that purpose. And it should be noted as well, I haven't read Count Zero or Mona Lisa Overdrive. I have both of them, and I'm kind of dying to read them right now. But I just think that he does such an incredible job of walking that tightrope between posing important moral questions, using believable characters to explore those questions, and making us ponder those, and sort of forcing us to arrive at a conclusion, you know, near the end of the book. Because I don't think we get a very satisfying ending, but I don't think he leaves us with the negativity that some books do when you don't stick the landing. I really liked the sort of like, Molly just sort of leaves and sticks the, you know, the note in the wall with the shuriken. That, by the way, beautiful writing that he never used it, but it's peppered throughout the story, and it's symbol, you know, it's a symbol for kind of like unfulfilled things. And what I like Gibson's writing in this story, I just can't recommend this to someone enough. If you can stick with it for the first read, I think you'll like it the first read, but it'll have you kind of in a mental blender. But if you give it a second try, I can't think of another book where my second reading of it was as satisfying. Like, I was gripped to the pages just like I was the first time, maybe more so. And I can't speak as highly. I can't speak highly enough of this book. I know I'm not really like on the cutting edge of this. I'm late to the party. Many of you who are watching this video have probably read Neuromancer and who probably are well aware of what I'm talking about. You're like, where's this guy been? But I finally have joined the party of like, he's one of my favorite writers. I kind of get him now. I get what he's doing a little bit. And I think that I've read enough science fiction now, vintage science fiction especially, where I think I'm just like, I've immersed myself in it enough to pick up on things a lot easier now. And that makes the reading experience better. Because when you read something as kind of high level as this, you miss a lot of those little nuances because you're just trying to keep up. And so I finally feel like I've, you know, I like to run, so I'll use a running metaphor. I finally feel like I've got my like base level VO2 max, if you know what that is, where you're building a base of, you know, cardiovascular health and strength in your legs where you can keep up better and run faster. And I feel like that's where my reading of this, especially the second time, has taken me. But yeah, I don't know if I covered a ton of like specifics about the book, but I just wanted to wax poetic about how much I loved it. It's so good. And Gibson's phenomenal. I brought Count Zero with me on this trip. I don't know if I'll read it, because like I said, I'm slowly churning through Lonesome Dove right now, but you know, Luke's here with me. We might shoot a video together on one of the books, like a literary fiction book that we've read together. So expect some stuff in the future, some more videos. But yeah, I'm just gonna go enjoy the weekend with my buddies and probably continue to just think about Neuromancer in the back of my mind, because I can't wait to read Count Zero. I can't wait to read Mona Lisa Overdrive, and I can't wait to just keep immersing myself in Gibson's work. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you so much. You guys mean the world to me that you keep supporting the channel. And yeah, I got some fun stuff that I want to do this summer. Finally back outside recording a little bit, which feels amazing. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Look for me on the Elusive Exclusive Book Society on March, I want to say 28th. I'm going to post something very soon on my channel, just probably as a post that's just let you know when that is. But go over to Pulp Mortem's channel, and Jake over at Pulp Mortem was nice enough to invite me. So we'll be talking about a Jack Chalker book, and The Devil Will Drag You Under. It's going to be a really good time. And then Sam over at Barely Human and I are reading a Roger Zelazny book right now. So at some point, he and I are going to chat about This Immortal, and we'll get that up on the channel, either his channel or my channel. I don't know. We haven't talked about how we're gonna do that, but some fun stuff coming soon. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that if you haven't read Neuromancer, that you do. And with that, I'm gonna go drink a beer with my buddies. I will see you guys soon. Peace.